Hi, my name is Seta Araz Shahinian, and I am an energetic healer, a faith healer, in fact, as well as an alternative care practitioner, which means that I use a number of modalities and techniques to help bring about change and transformation to my clients and to help them heal and to help them along the journey towards self-discovery, self-love, and manifestation of their dreams.
What is the soul?
The soul is one aspect of God. They give the example that if God were an ocean, each soul is one drop of that ocean. And therefore, the soul is what animates life. It's that essence within us that allows us to live. And without a soul, we cannot live. Therefore, every single person in this world who is alive has a soul. The body will wither away, the mind will die, but the soul lives on forever. And so when we are born, there's an aspect of our higher self that splits off, meaning our soul is comprised of one portion, one small percentage of our higher self, or the superconscious, that comes down and incarnates for a very specific purpose. Our soul operates in the frequency of love. Automatically, it knows that we are lovable. We don't have to do anything to prove that we are worthy of love. We are inherently lovable, and we operate in the frequency and the currency of love because we are an aspect of God. And the soul always yearns to be reunited with God, to commune and interact with God. The soul has a longing for God, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And the soul also gives us our personality, our character, because the soul has lived for an eternity and will continue to live. And so therefore, the continuity of who you are is expressed in the soul. I mean, we've all of us seen babies, and we see how they react differently, and they actually have such different temperaments and constitutions. Why? Because their soul differs. And it's that soul difference that gives them their unique qualities.
Is a soul born? Does a soul die?
I believe that God creates our souls. And once that soul is created, that soul does not die. I believe that each soul lives and is incarnated within a body. And then when the body perishes, the soul leaves the body and lives on. The soul has a purpose, a calling, and I was told once that each soul who is incarnated has three purposes. The first is to understand unconditional self-love. The second is to create balance in their life. The third is to accomplish a goal, to heed a divine calling, to master a gift, and then to share it with the world. And I think that once each soul learns all of its lessons, that eventually it reunites with God and loses its individuality, its uniqueness, as it is merged with the whole.
What is the soul's relation to Source/God?
Source/God is the creator of the universe. It's the one, the I am. A soul is the creation of God, and the soul serves a specific purpose. There is a divine calling instilled within us each time we incarnate and come to earth. We have a life's purpose, a soul's mission, and a journey that hopefully leads us to fulfilling the goals that our soul has set forth prior to incarnation. And I believe that a soul has access to its divine inheritance. This is allocated to us at the moment of our birth, and it provides every tool, every entitlement, opportunity, ability, and power that God has allocated to us at the moment of our birth to help us fulfill our life's purpose and soul's journey, which is the manifestation of God's will, an answer to the divine calling instilled within each of us.
What's the difference between a young soul and an old soul?
I believe the difference between a young soul and an old soul can be gauged by the wisdom that the soul has acquired. And generally speaking, when a soul has incarnated more frequently, it has more of an opportunity to acquire that wisdom, to learn and evolve. And therefore, it is highly likely that an old soul has had multiple incarnations, probably in the thousands, if not tens of thousands, versus a young soul is new to this earth, or new to this realm, I should say, or has newly been created and has yet much to learn. Although I believe that there are exceptions in that sometimes God creates new souls for a specific purpose, and they are sent to earth or they are sent to us to help us evolve to the next level and ascend.
Are human incarnations voluntarily chosen?
I believe they are. I think that there is a big demand, I've heard, on the other side to come and experience life. You see, each soul has this yearning to progress and evolve. And the test is here on earth. So without the challenges that we experience on earth, we don't necessarily have that opportunity to evolve as we would like. And we are eager to come to earth. But there is a risk because we can possibly actually forget our divine purpose and we might risk devolving. I feel very strongly that each soul is prepared in advance to try and fulfill their destiny, to fulfill the divine purpose for which they incarnated, because it's a huge risk to come to earth. What if the person becomes tempted by the allurements of sin and they forget their divine purpose because it's so much easier to go off track and just, have fun and be degenerate or just give up because they think it's too challenging for them. And in that case, the soul will devolve. And this is a very sad consequence of not heeding your divine purpose. So it's so important that people understand that they have a soul, that the whole reason for life is for the soul to evolve and progress. We didn't just come here to have fun, to work 9 to 5, to make money, to live a life. We came here to learn, to acquire wisdom, to be of service, to be loving and kind, and to progress towards fulfilling our life's purpose, our soul's mission, and the destiny for which we were born.
Does the soul plan its incarnations ahead of time?
We definitely plan our incarnation beforehand. Why? Because each soul has a divine purpose. Each soul needs to learn how to evolve and progress. And the earth poses a wonderful schoolroom. I mean, it literally presents the challenges that we need because we don't have those challenges in other places. So yes, we are emphatically, it is so precise where we go, the family that is selected, even our physical presence, what we look like, what we resemble, how we're going to be treated by others based on our cultural norms or racist expectations or whatever types of difficulties that people encounter because maybe they're different than others in the society that they were born into. So it's a wonderfully precise mechanism that is exact, and there is complete order in the selection process. We gather with our council of elders and we discuss and debate the best possible parents, for example, that will help facilitate our growth. Imagine if a person has difficulty with control. They want excessive control. They don't know how to surrender. They have to learn how to let go. They might probably pick a parent who is very, very controlling themselves so that they can actually experience a childhood wound very early on. And this will set the tempo of the lessons that they need to learn and overcome. It's very deliberate, the selection of parents. I think a great deal of time, effort, and energy is involved in perusing and selecting the parents who will carry us in our next incarnation.
What's the purpose of life on the physical plane?
Each soul has a quest, has a journey, and has a purpose. Each soul wants to evolve. And we cannot evolve unless we encounter challenges. And so the earth plane presents those challenges for us. Unfortunately, there are times when the soul has drawn incorrect conclusions. And if those incorrect conclusions about life, about themselves, about people, relationships, money, whatever the subject is, if that from a previous lifetime, that incorrect conclusion has left an indelible mark upon the soul, that soul needs to learn how to let go and evolve and correct its incorrect thoughts, incorrect beliefs. And therefore, it will come back to earth in order to learn these lessons and face the challenges that help them react in a different way. So when we are experiencing a pattern in life and we repeat that same pattern over and over again, for example, let's say a person becomes involved in an abusive relationship, and you find that there is a pattern where, yes, there may be differences from one relationship to the next, but they tend to attract the same type of person repetitively. Why? Because they have a belief system inside of them. And the person that they are drawing into their lives matches that belief system. So for example, that person has to learn how to correct that incorrect belief so that they can attract new, different, healthier relationships.
Many people experience challenges while living in a body. Does the soul seek such challenges? And if so, why?
Absolutely. I think that certain souls seek challenges because they know it will afford them the opportunity to evolve. And let's face it, if you have a physical disability, a learning disability, if you are a minority in an area, if you undergo tremendous lack and have certain basic needs that go unmet, you're going to evolve as a soul in a very different manner. And you're going to experience the world in a very different way. And you're going to have to overcome certain challenges that perhaps other people don't. But that person, I believe that that person's soul has ambition. Because the more difficult the life, if we are able to overcome those challenges appropriately, the more we advance. I have been told that the easier lifetimes are less rewarding in that the soul advances less.
Do we have soul groups that we incarnate with across different lifetimes?
Each soul has its own unique divine purpose, but each soul also can have a collective purpose. And many times people come together because they can work collectively on a goal that serves society as a whole. So absolutely, I do really believe that people come together and we're meant to meet them, just as I'm meant to meet you today, and you are helping me express my divine purpose, and I am helping you express your divine purpose.
Are there contracts or agreements between souls?
We have often karma with members of our family because we've come together previously, and we have to oftentimes work matters out. And some relationships are, I think, there to really help us know ourselves. Like imagine a teacher or somebody who really inspires you, to be or to do something, or plants this seed or encourages you. And yet other people that you encounter might really be the felon, the enemy, the person who makes you feel poorly about yourself, who criticizes you, who tries to detract from you in some way or diminish you. So I have to say that every person that we encounter in life serves a purpose. But the people that we're most close to, the people who have the greatest impact, oftentimes we have a soul contract with them. And that's especially true within families. And the dynamics of siblings, especially because the first versus the baby, for example, there are so many differences that each child will experience. Within the same exact family, having the same parents, if you are the firstborn versus the lastborn, your experience will be completely different. And I believe that all of these have been planned in advance based on the person's own soul purpose and the lesson they need to learn and the challenges they will inevitably face, and that they specifically came to Earth to experience so that they could evolve.
Do spirit guides or angels assist us?
I believe that every single person has a guardian angel that they were born with, an angel that was assigned to them at the moment of their birth, or possibly even conception. I've never really asked. But we also all have spirit guides. So many of us actually even have multiple spirit guides, and they are specialists as well. We can have a daily guide that is with us since forever, since we were born. But then as we grow older and we develop certain skills, or we have needs, for example, as a healer, I have many more guides now, today, after I've been working with energy for 25 years than I did 25 years ago when I first started. So as the need increases, God provides us with even more guides and even divine teams that come to our assistance. And we can call upon them and we can ask for more. So it's a beautiful gift to have a guide. Sometimes, rarely, when our loved ones pass on, sometimes they can also become a spirit guide for us. But it's very, very important to know to not pray to your loved one who has passed on, because you're putting an immense burden on that person, and they cannot, on that soul, I should say, and they cannot fulfill that. They can pray for you, but they cannot answer your prayers. And many, many people make this mistake. So it's very important that we distinguish between our spirit guides and the divine teams assigned to us to assist us that can change during our lifetime based upon our goals and our daily life. But it is also very important to know that we should only truly pray to God, because your spirit guide, especially if your spirit guide is a deceased past one, which happens from time to time, we cannot impose upon them and give them that burden, because they cannot fulfill our prayers.
What is the veil of forgetting, and why do we need it?
The veil of forgetting is essential. Otherwise, we would be very, very confused. Imagine, for example, that we're once again incarnating within the same soul family. But in our previous lifetime, our mother was our daughter, or our sister was our grandmother. Can you imagine how confusing it would be for someone if all of those roles were overlapping in the conscious mind? It would be an untenable situation that would drive somebody absolutely crazy. And we have to remember that the soul has a purpose. And oftentimes from lifetime to lifetime, that purpose remains the same. You don't need to recall your past life necessarily in order to understand the pattern and the challenges that you are trying to overcome in this lifetime. They are generally the same. The veil serves an alternate purpose as well. The veil provides us with the illusion that we are starting this anew. It actually helps us forget the mistakes we've made in the past, so that in a way it wipes the slate clean so we can move forward and we don't will not feel defeated because we failed in the past. And likewise, the illusion, sometimes people, I guess, if they think that there is no true consequence, they won't make the effort. They'll just step off stage and say, hey, I don't want to participate in this because this is all fake anyway. But the reality is that the goal of your soul's evolution to progress as a soul is really the essential focus of every incarnation. And for that, we need the illusion so that we can really believe that we have a chance of changing and transforming ourselves.
Discuss the role of free will in a given incarnation.
The role of free will is of paramount importance. When I think of the Garden of Eden, why did God create that paradise? And why was there this one apple, this one forbidden fruit? It was because he wanted people to have free will to decide the path that they would choose. And if God has already determined everything on our behalf, how could we possibly evolve? We have to choose right from wrong. We have to know what we are doing. We have to hold ourselves accountable and responsible. The more we blame other people, the more power we give to them. We can never progress and evolve until we hold ourselves accountable. And how do you hold yourself accountable if you don't have free will to make your decisions? It is, I think, the most important aspect of the soul that we have. Because imagine, God wants us to choose Him, or the Creator of our free will. And when I look at the Garden of Creation, when I look at Adam and Eve, the cardinal sin left us with the belief that paradise is inadequate, right? They had everything they wanted, and yet it wasn't enough for them. And it's my opinion that the original sin is actually that I am not enough. What I have is not enough. It's this belief that it's not enough. And when we actually, of our own free will, choose God, then our soul learns that not only are we enough, not only is everything that we have enough, that God is enough, and that can only come through free will.
Is life on the physical plane an illusion?
I believe that Earth is a schoolroom. So in order for somebody to learn a lesson, there are certain parameters that have to be in place. And sometimes those involve creating an illusion of reality. Otherwise, the person is not going to have to confront the patterns of disease, the misbeliefs, the misperceptions, the unrealistic expectations that they harbor that lead them to commit errors, to react inappropriately, to respond incorrectly. So all of these actually have a role, and the illusion of is what allows the person to create this scenario, a scenario that feels very real, that will allow them to progress and evolve. Once again, it's always about the soul's evolution and overcoming crystallized negative belief systems and just knowing that it's about love and forgiveness and joy and sharing and service and peace and kindness and so many of the other virtues that really differentiate us from the more devolved soul.
What is death?
Death is the rebirth of the soul. They say that dying is like taking off a tight shoe that has been killing you all day. So the soul leaves and pulls out from the feet, and when the soul completely removes itself from the body, death is pronounced. And then the soul is free and it is able to expand and it goes where it needs to go. When a soul separates, they are almost always greeted by their loved ones from the other side. I see a clamoring, a joyful experience. I see the most beautiful reunion that you can imagine, absolute joy and laughter.
Are we judged or punished for our mistakes in the afterlife?
I believe that every experience we have, good or bad, is documented by our soul. And so if we incur wrongs, those are absolutely noted, and equally so the good that we do. So in the end, let's assume that the person has perpetrated many, many wrongs against someone. Either in the same lifetime or in future lifetimes, they will have a burden and a karmic debt to bear. So yes, I don't know if I would say the term is punishing. I would say there's an equalizing force until we come to neutrality.
Describe the life review.
The purpose of the life review is educational. It's so that we can really understand the impact that we've had upon others, good or bad, and how we need to change and what we need to address in order to be more loving and kind, in order to be more evolved in our responses, more appropriate towards others, ourselves, those around us, the world at large. The life review is essential, and we actually have an entire council of elders that also helps us with this process. And we are offered an alternate perspective. We look at life through our perceptions, our viewpoint. But what if we could see our actions and the consequences of our actions on others and how they feel and how there's been a ripple effect because of something that we did and we perpetrated against someone else? And also the good we may have done, right? And how it carries forth and how we've maybe been able to pay it forward. So Life Review offers a perspective from not only our own insight, but the larger picture of how our lives have impacted others. And it's a learning experience, because if we could just perceive and understand how much we are able to impact one other person's life, I think we would pay so much more attention. We would be so much more responsible with our words, with our thoughts, with our actions. And that's Life Review is a beautiful, beautiful tool and resource that the soul has to further evolve.
What is karma?
What is karma? For me, karma is a debt or a burden that you will inevitably be obligated to pay, meaning it is something that demands a balance. For a wrong that has been perpetrated, either you have to overcome that wrong by doing something very, very good for that person or others, for example, or you will have to experience it yourself so that you understand what you actually did and how does it make you feel. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And if we could just put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, I think we would really be very, very hesitant to harm them. And especially knowing that whatever harm you have perpetrated against somebody else is going to be something that you experience, or there's going to be a payment, an obligatory payment that you have to pay. You're going to suffer in some way, or you're going to have to be exceptionally good and really be of service to God in some way to diminish that debt. Nothing goes unnoticed, and everything has to be accounted for. There's complete order and precision in life, and it's a scale that is exact.
How do you define forgiveness?
Well, forgiveness is freedom. Freedom from the past, freedom from harboring resentment, grief, anger, from an injury that has been perpetrated against you, from a wrong that has been perpetrated against you. Forgiveness is letting go. It's something that we do for ourselves. It's a gift that we give to ourselves, and it's disallowing the person from having power over us. Because when you think about the wrongs perpetrated against you day in and day out, who are you giving your power over to? So forgiveness is for the valiant and courageous who say, I know that this will be handled in the future. I give this problem to God. I ask God to resolve everything in accordance to His will. And I know that I am free from the past and free from the anger, the resentment festering within me, free to be the best person that I can be, and free to create change and transformation in my life because I live in the now. You know, when we don't forgive, that wrong takes us hostage. It takes up so much space in your mind that it actually prevents you from living in the now and from creating in the now. Because you can only live and create change in the present. But if you haven't forgiven and if you live in the past, it hijacks your life. So forgiveness is saying, I am worthy. I am worthy of peace. I am worthy of letting go. I am worthy of disallowing the past to dictate how I respond and how I live in the present.
Discuss the idea of oneness/unity and how we can apply it in our everyday lives.
We are all part of the whole. We were all created by the Creator. We are all loved by the Creator equally, regardless of who we are and what we have done. All souls are redeemable. All souls. God gives an opportunity for everyone. And if you can understand that in the end, each soul has this yearning to be united with God, and when we process all that we have come on earth to process, when we evolve, ultimately we will be reunited once again with God. And we are all part of the same creation. So how can we really be different? It's what animates every single human being is the soul. And we are all derived from the same source. And so, of course, we are one. Every time you help someone, every time you contribute, every time you fulfill your divine purpose and you serve as an instrument of God, you are creating a better world. And you are helping your others as much as yourself, because you will all ascend together, meaning the quality of life that you experience will be better. Imagine if peace and love is your divine purpose. And imagine if peace and love is his or her divine purpose. And if we all contribute in like, are we not creating something that brings joy to God because all of the different parts are working cohesively as one towards furthering that divine purpose? We can do it if we put our minds to it and if we understand how to hold ourselves accountable and responsible, and knowing that our actions impact the collective conscious. All good thoughts echo back to us. All good deeds echo back to us. And that's what we have to be consciously aware of. And we have to assume responsibility and know that we are one part of the whole. And if we do our part, we are helping the collective.
Where is heaven?
I think heaven is paradise in an alternate universe. I think it's close. I don't think it's far. And I say that because in prayer, when I'm working with my clients, especially when they've lost loved ones that I know have gone to the light, when we call upon them, they come very quickly. So I don't think heaven is far away. I think heaven is everywhere, but it is an alternate universe, meaning it's a different dimension. They say that heaven is peace and love and music and colors. I can only say that I think heaven is paradise, and I think it's available and accessible to one and all.
Where is God?
So I think that source or God, the creator, is everywhere. It's in everything that has life. It's in everything that is animated. It's in you and I. Because if our soul is one aspect of God, then isn't God also within us? And if God were the driving force, if God could govern everything, if we allowed our soul to predominate, then we would be more godlike. Weren't we created in the image of God? I think that God is the creator and is omnipresent. Well, if you really understood that each soul was comprised from an aspect of God, that means that you would honor yourself and you would honor others. You would be loving and kind to yourself and you would be loving and kind to others. I always have believed that we are inherently worthy simply because we have a soul. Because of course God, the Creator, is worthy. And as our soul is an aspect of God, it translates to one and all being inherently worthy. We have to sort of get that mind out of the way. And it's the mind that has these false beliefs that it imposes upon the soul. So if we could actually understand that there's a beautiful aspect of God within all of us, I think we would refrain from harming others because it would be like harming yourself.
Many believe we're shifting to a higher consciousness on this planet. Do you agree? And if so, can you describe this shift?
There is a shift towards higher levels of consciousness and ascension. How do I know? Because now there are so many energies available to us that even 20 years ago weren't. There is a timeline that we are living on. And as more and more people awaken in their consciousness and understand that there is a purpose, that Earth as a whole is going to ascend, and that we are one part of the whole, it's the most beautiful experience, an understanding that God has this divine purpose for Earth and that He intends for us, that God, the Creator, intends for us to ascend.
What's the secret to remembering who we really are?
I think that when we understand that we have a soul and our soul operates from the perspective of love, the language of the soul is love, and God is love, then we remember who we are. So when the ego takes precedence, the soul does not have a voice, and the soul's preferences are lost. The soul is not governing the body. The soul is not governing the mind. The soul is submissive to the ego. And then we make mistakes. If only we could be soul-driven, soul-governed, it would be a very, very different world, because we would understand that we are one part of the whole. And it's not just about us. It's that our participation within the collective conscious becomes so significant. If we could understand the impact that we have, one person, it's like one drop, and that one drop has a ripple effect. And it's just so beautiful that we can really remind other people, hey, can you operate from the level of the soul? Because if you did, you know that you would never willfully harm someone. You would be far more benevolent, far more generous, far more charitable. And then you would actually serve as an instrument of God. See, it's only when we operate from the soul that we can serve God. And we came to earth because each of us have a divine purpose. And we have been given a key, we have been given a specific gift, something that we have to accomplish, something that we have to do. And when we do it, it's like the gates of heaven open up for us, because then we experience paradise on earth.
What does our soul want us to know?
Our soul wants us to know that we have free will. Our soul wants us to know that we have a choice to operate from love, because our soul is love. Our soul wants us to know that we can only evolve when we are loving and kind to ourselves and others. And our soul wants us to know that the purpose for life is our soul's evolution. It's not to acquire massive amounts of money or fame. It's to evolve. It's to progress. It's to serve. And it's to truly operate from a foundation of love.
Is there a positive message or message of hope you'd like to leave us with?
You know, we take care of our minds, we educate ourselves. We take care of our bodies, we bathe, we eat properly, or we try at least. But what are we doing for our soul? How are you nurturing your soul? You have to understand that your soul has a yearning to commune and to interact with God. We have to create and dedicate time to be with God. Years ago, God gave me an example. He said, imagine a person striving to advance. Imagine a person striving to climb a mountain, but they don't have tools, they don't have the shoes, and they're taking 2 or 3 steps and then they're falling backwards. So they're constantly going back to the starting point. They said, with one prayer, with one heartfelt supplication, with one demonstration of faith, God will put a chair underneath you and lift you up. So I would say you're not alone, but you have to learn how to ask for help. And you have to learn how to say thank you. You have to know that in the 7 steps of abundance, gratitude is the very first step. The minute you say thank you, God, God says, oh, look, this person is thanking me. We have a relationship. There is a road, a path between us. There is a cord that ties us together. And they're thanking me, so I'm going to give them more. And so I can say to you that if you want miracles to unfold in your life, if you want synchronicities to take place, you have to incorporate God in your daily life. You have to pray. You have to give thanks. You have to have and develop a relationship with the divine. And then truly miracles can unfold.